My next patron question is from Andrew, who wants to know about a specific year in box office history. Some of my favorite videos of yours are your box office report videos. I too am really interested about a film's box office earnings and seeing how you compare the studio's overall performances for the year. One year that seems to stand out to a lot of people is 1991. It's been stated to be a year where a lot of films underperformed in one way or another. Is this true, and for comparison, were 1992 and 1993 better years for the overall box office? Reading articles from around that time, there was a sense of disappointment in Hollywood about the overall performance of the box office, including in the summer. While there were still plenty of hits, there were also films that did not reach expectations. I do want to start by mentioning the major successes, though. Terminator 2 Judgment Day was the biggest hit of 1991, with audiences coming back again and again to see the spectacle of it. This was not too surprising, and Robin Hood Prince of Thieves was another expected success that year. While Disney's Beauty and the Beast probably had decent-sized expectations, it went way beyond what people predicted. Steven Spielberg's Hook was actually what many thought would be the choice movie of the holiday season. After all, it was Spielberg doing his take on Peter Pan. And while Hook did decent business and was a profitable film, Beauty and the Beast ended up outgrossing it both domestically and worldwide. The Silence of the Lambs, City Slickers, and The Addams Family were also popular among moviegoers that year. Cape Fear became Martin Scorsese's highest-grossing film at that point. Naked Gun 2.5 was the rare sequel to make more than its predecessor. Father of the Bride opened around Christmas and continued to perform well into the new year, and the re-release of 101 Dalmatians was one of Disney's most successful. Of course, there were some major flops like most years have. Probably the most infamous was Hudson Hawk, starring Bruce Willis. The movie went over budget and came and went from theaters in North America, although it found a more receptive audience overseas. Not enough to make its money back, though. Disney had high hopes for The Rocketeer, seen as the own answer to Indiana Jones, but sadly not. An American Tail, Father Goes West, did not do much business for a sequel to a well-liked movie, primarily because most of the audience was next door seeing Beauty and the Beast. Speaking of sequels to family movies, The Never-Ending Story 2 also saw disappointing numbers, and Ernest Scared Stupid was the last movie in that series to be distributed by Disney. The way the hits were scattered around the calendar did not help matters. There were months that did well, and then other months that pulled in fewer people. August, for example, had to rely on the staying power of Terminator 2 and Hot Shots rather than the strength of new releases. According to Box Office Mojo, the domestic box office for 1991 was about even with the previous year, although that could also be attributed to late 1990 releases like Home Alone and Dancing with Wolves continued to pull in strong grosses in the first few months of the year. However, if you only include the totals of films released in 1991, the box office sees an almost 5% drop compared to 1990's offerings. Andrew asked about 1992 and 1993, and those years did see a major increase in business. The highest-grossing film of 1992 was Disney's Aladdin, helped immensely by the goodwill generated from Beauty and the Beast. Other big hits released that year included the romantic drama The Bodyguard, the family sequel Home Alone 2, the erotic thriller Basic Instinct, and the courtroom drama A Few Good Men. Among the most pleasant sleeper successes that year were Sister Act, Wayne's World, and A League of Their Own. Batman Returns is an interesting case. It was one of the highest-grossing movies of 1992, turned a decent profit, and even scored the biggest opening weekend at the time. So Warner Brothers should have been really pleased with its performance, but it made significantly less than the first and did not have as much staying power, as audiences were not sure what to make of Tim Burton's sequel and parents complained about the content. It did well enough for more Batman films to be made, but the studio felt it was best to take them in a new direction away from Burton. Among films that actually flopped, the more well-known were the biopic Hoffa, the colorful comedy Toys, and the animation live-action hybrid Cool World. But overall, 1992 was a solid year. 1993 was largely driven by the enormous success of Jurassic Park and its dinosaurs. People could not get enough of them, and the film was especially big at the international box office. Other notable grossers included Mrs. Doubtfire, The Fugitive, Sleepless in Seattle, and The Firm. You also had Steven Spielberg finding an additional success with Schindler's List, plus crowd pleasers like Free Willy, Groundhog Day, Grumpy Old Men, and Cool Runnings. Of the major disappointments that year, the biggest ones were definitely Last Action Hero and Super Mario Bros. Despite the former starring Arnold Schwarzenegger at a time when he was releasing hit after hit, and the latter being based on a popular video game series, neither came close to making their budgets back. Back to 1991, I do think it's a stronger box office year than it's given credit for, but Hollywood often likes it more when the grosses go up each year. I personally prefer to judge a year based on the number of hits rather than the flops, and a year that gave us Beauty and the Beast, Terminator 2, Silence of the Lambs, and The Addams Family cannot be that bad. Thank you for your question, Andrew.